A mature or healthy sexual act requires the three centers as well as the three instincts to be in balance and harmony. Let's go a bit deeper into each of these and try to come up with some suggestions. And let's start with the mental or the thinking center or the head. In the previous video, I said that sex should be a conscious expression of love. But how do you love? It's not about something that just overcomes us, as many people are used to. Denis Bugulov, one of my teachers in Belarus, taught us how we could love as an act. He said that in order to love somebody, we need to accept that person. And in order to accept that person, we must understand that person. And in order to understand that person, we need to know the person. Now, this paradigm sounds very easy, yet it entails so many important nuances. Knowing and understanding starts with the head or the cognitive intelligence. Accepting mainly happens with the heart or the emotional intelligence. And action comes from the gut or body intelligence. So how do we know and understand our partner, but also ourselves? Well, there are many pieces to the puzzle. First of all, it's important to learn a bit more about sex. Our entire childhood and adolescence, we learn how to live, how to cook, how to behave in society, how to gain skills that will give access to a job that allows us to earn money, and so on. However, we probably never learned how to make love. Few actually had access to responsible sex education. Now, what happens when you don't know something, when you have a lack of knowledge? You become afraid. And when you are anxious, you cannot enjoy what you're doing. So, read about sex. Not the populistic articles you'll find in magazines or on the internet, but some decent literature that aims at responsibly educating people. Secondly, you need to know and understand more about yourself and your partner. What do you like? What are your sexual values and those of your partner? Are they different or how compatible are they? Why do you have sex? How does your instinctual stacking influence your sexual behavior? And how similar or how different does it make you from your partner? How does your personality influence your sexual behavior? So how does the passion of your type create obstacles? The mere fact that you understand your sexual desires and the neurotic aspects of them are already a huge step forward. Understanding the challenges is already half of the solution. I hope you can use the information of this course to explore yourself, but also to analyze your partner. Let's now move on to the feeling center or the heart. This is probably the easiest and simultaneously the hardest part of all. You should not only understand yourself and your partner intellectually, but also accept yourself and your partner. And this requires you come up with empathy and compassion and consciously accept that things are the way they are. You don't judge it. You may not like it. You may feel sad about certain things, but you accept that this is how things are. Although it should inspire you to change yourself and do your inner work, you should not try to change your partner. Just honor the differences that are there, but do your part of the work. And again, it sounds very easy, but it's very difficult in practice. However, truly understanding why things are the way they are, then acceptance should come almost automatically. Finally, the last one is the gut or instinctive center, the body. Some people will automatically think, oh, I need an attractive body to be desirable. And unfortunately, we live in a society that overvalues unrealistically beautiful bodies. And sure, a marvelous body may be attractive, but there is nothing great about having sex with a marvelous body if that person doesn't desire sex. If there is no mutual desire, then it's like using that marvelous body as a tool for masturbation. We're not turned on by beautiful bodies. We are turned on by people who own their own sexuality and eroticism. So on the other hand, a partner who may not look stunning but feels sexy and truly enjoys erotic pleasure can lead you to ecstatic moments. So it's not about the physical beauty of the body, but rather the sense of physical self-esteem you have. If you believe you are attractive, you are attractive. If you believe you are unattractive, you will be unattractive. Self-esteem is not about how you look, but how you feel. So let me talk about two things that may help you in improving your sexual self-esteem, but also improve the sexual experience. Having a healthy body and knowing what your body likes. Healthy sex requires a healthy body, right? So how do we make sure that our body is healthy? Well, the body needs to be physically fit. If you do some sports or some yoga, your body will be more flexible and your endurance will be longer. Doing some physical activity will also increase your body image and self-esteem. There's actually one specific part of the body you ought to work with: the pelvis. True sexual freedom is not about being allowed to engage in egocentric and uninhibited sexual behavior and not having to bear the responsibility for it. No, true sexual freedom is about the freedom of the pelvis. Did you ever see how people in Africa dance? Most people in the industrialized world are unable to dance like that because the ligaments of the pelvis are ossified. Remember, I spoke in the previous lesson about how we are disconnected from the sensations in our pelvis? We do not allow the pelvis to move freely and independently, but it moves together with the abdomen and the upper thigh as one unit. Yoga and some other sports can help you in loosening up the pelvis. Equally important for a healthy body is what you eat and drink. I'm not talking about food with aphrodisiac qualities, but about healthy food, which make you feel lighter and more energetic. Many are not aware of this, but did you know that your mood depends mainly on what you eat and drink? Did you know that even depression is strongly linked to the function of your intestines? Let me give you a few examples of unhealthy lifestyle choices and their impact on the sexual function. Let's start with smoking. Smoking damages the vascular system, so there's a higher likelihood that the penis cannot enlarge because of damaged blood vessels. So it's going to lead to erectile dysfunctions. And in women, it also reduces the blood flow in the genitals. So it may reduce sensitivity and the sexual response. Smoking is also harmful to androgens and estrogens, so it may lead to reduced vaginal lubrication. The increased carbon monoxide lowers testosterone in both men and women, so it reduces the sex drive. Also, nicotine reduces the sex drive and sexual arousal. Smoking reduces the lung function, so you get out of breath faster and you have less endurance for physical tasks. And of course, fertility decreases because it damages the DNA in egg cells and sperms. It reduces the sperm count and motility of sperm. Plus, menopause starts earlier because of the nicotine, cyanide, and carbon monoxide. Sugar is not only a silent killer, it also has a negative impact on your sex life. Sugar creates leptin resistance. It decreases testosterone and estrogen levels, increases cortisol levels, which all reduce one's libido. So eating sugar also leads to sugar imbalances, and this leads to trouble getting or maintaining an erection. And sugar is actually a major cause of erectile dysfunction, especially among diabetic men. Sugar also leads to problems with vaginal lubrication, and it also leads to a reduction of the microcirculation of blood, so it leads to less sensitivity in the genitals. Consuming sugar also leads to the pancreas consuming more insulin to reduce glucose levels. And these hormonal disruptions, in combination with low blood sugar levels, result in fatigue. so you get tired and will not be active and present during the sexual act. Plus, too much sugar leads to weight gain and can have an impact on self-confidence. Many people say that they can relax more easily after a few glasses of alcohol, that it increases their self-confidence, that it enables them to get an orgasm more easily. Well, it reduces your sexual repression, it lowers your inhibitions, it makes you more in tune with your true sexual desires. However, there are better ways of surrendering than using intoxication. Alcohol may definitely subdue your anxiety in the short term, but on the long term it actually increases anxiety. And the same happens with sex. It may help you to relax, but it has more negative effects than you think. Alcohol lowers the blood flow. So less blood flows to the genitals, which makes erection and lubrication more difficult. It lowers your testosterone, so it lowers your sexual desire. It may become difficult to achieve an orgasm, but for some men it may lead to premature ejaculation. And finally, alcohol also increases risk-taking behavior and reduces fertility. In men, heavy drinking can even cause the penis and testicles to shrink. Most drugs will reduce sexual inhibitions, and some may even help in desire or erectile dysfunctions in the short run. However, most lead to a reduced libido and erectile dysfunctions on the longer term. Now, I could go on for a bit longer and mention some other food, drinks or bad habits, but I guess you got the point. The second thing after taking care of your body is being in touch and knowing your body, but also that of your partner. Do you know which part of your body are erogenous? Do you know how you react to different types of touch? Do you know which types of touch increase your arousal? And do you know which type of stimulation will bring you to orgasm? Many people have expectations on their partner for giving them physiological pleasure. But how can your partner know what you like if you don't know yourself? So how do you learn about it? You can explore your body together with your partner. And many people may have been married for a long time, but they may still not know much about the body of their partner or that of themselves. So by touching, exploring, giving a massage, but without intercourse, you can learn a lot. You can also explore your body on your own. Not only will you know what you like, but it will actually increase your self-acceptance, your self-confidence, your sense of authenticity. So it's not just about masturbation, but about something much wider than that. It's about accepting your own sexuality, about feeling comfortable with your own pleasure. If a woman loves herself and is able to get pleasure from her own body, then a partner will also want to make love to her. It's like with a cat. See the cat crawling with pleasure, and you will want to take part in this pleasurable activity and start caressing her. Men have far less problems with this than women. Why not? First of all, there's less sexual repression towards men. Secondly, men see and touch their genitals each time they go to the toilet, but a woman needs a mirror to see hers and may even feel uncomfortable touching it. Does that mean that people should spend time masturbating? No, definitely not. As a matter of fact, many religions have a taboo on masturbation, and I spoke about this already, and they actually have a good reason for that. But the problem is not with masturbation as such, but the fact that it can be an easy way to indulge into compulsive sexual behavior. It may also take away sexual energy from the relationship, and especially self-pressed dominant people may end up masturbating instead of having sex with each other. Something similar can be said about sex toys. Sure, sex toys can help in understanding what is pleasurable, but they can take the energy away from the sexual relationship. Even more, frequent use of sex toys may actually make it more difficult to achieve an orgasm from partnered sex. With sex toys, orgasm is not a result of surrendering, but of friction, very strong friction. It is very difficult for a partner to create the same level of friction and stimulation as some of these devices. And as a result, partnered sex may feel less satisfying than just using a toy. I spoke about the three centers, but working with the instincts is equally important. We often do not have many problems with the instinct in the middle of the stack, but both the dominant and the repressed instinct may be a source of frustration and suffering, but we just don't want to recognize it. We may not see the point in changing anything, and we may even be judgmental if the instinctual stack of our partner is different. Hence, it's important to bring the instincts into balance. And let's start with self-preservation instinct. If the self-preservation instinct is repressed, you may be a bit too impulsive and risk-taking. If your partner happens to have a strong self-preservation instinct, this temperamental difference may cause quite some problems. It's important to understand these differences in your partner, and you may need to lower the level of intensity a little bit. High intensity does not mean that the sexual act is mature. You may also care a bit more about safe sex. I've met some self-pres blind people who actually use abortion as their main tool for birth control. That's not a good one. If your self-preservation instinct is your dominant instinct, you may need to focus a bit more on the process instead of focusing on the orgasm. Foreplay may sound like a waste of time and energy, but your partner may need this in order to get really aroused. Many self-pres dominant people are having a hard time being present in the sexual act because they think too much about all the practical things they still need to do. And be disciplined and focused. When you're having sex, have sex. Do not think about the bills or about the food you need to prepare for the kids, the mess in the living room, the gas tank of the car that needs to be filled up. Another thing is that self-preservation dominant people should learn not to focus too much on comfort. Yes, some positions can feel a bit odd, but there is nothing wrong if sex is a bit messy. That's part of the unknown, and you should try to be a bit more open to that. And finally, don't be too energy efficient. Don't expect your partner to meet your needs. You also need to be active. Don't just masturbate when you want to have sex, but are too lazy to do any work yourself. Don't fool yourself by telling yourself that masturbation is better and easier than partnered sex. Next comes the sexual instinct. Having a repressed sexual instinct has a lot of similarities with being self-preservation dominant, because the sexual and the self-preservation instinct can be antagonistic. So when looking at the repressed sexual instinct, we should also include people who may have sexually repressive values, even if their sexual instinct is dominant. Very often, sex negative views can soften some of the behaviors that relate to the sexual instinct. So, people with a repressed sexual instinct or subjected to sex negative values may want to bring in a bit more energy, try to spice things up, be more experimental, be more spontaneous, let themselves go. They may also benefit from agreeing to sex even if they are not aroused yet. Very often, sexually blind people may not be in the mood for sex, but once the actual sexual act is ongoing, they actually start liking it. Appetite comes with eating. So even if the sexual desire in a long-term relationship is gone, you can actually bring back your libido a bit just by having sex. So still go for it, even if sex is not on your mind. Those with a sexual dominant instinct, on the contrary, should try not to overrate, idealize, or romanticize sex. Don't confuse intensity or the desire to merge with a partner for connection or presence. Try not to seek peak experience. Don't chase spicy and passionate sex. Don't seek ecstatic sex. Learn to settle with normal sex. And tantric sex may be something nice and interesting, but for the sexual dominant people, it may often be even more delusional. For the sexual dominant person, chasing tantric sex is equally healthy as a self-preservation dominant person striving to invest even more in real estate to get a higher income. Yet for the sexually repressed person, trying Tantra may be a very useful experience. And finally, this social instinct. If you are social blind, try to be a bit less possessive and jealous of your partner. Possessiveness can be suffocating. It can even be counterproductive because it may want a monogamous partner to desire to get some fresh air. Also, try not to be so focused on your own needs only. See how the needs and wishes of your partner are not just his or her problem, but something for the couple to jointly manage. And if your partner wants sex but you don't, find a solution to it together. If you want more sex but your partner does not, also find a solution together. But if on the contrary, if you are social dominant, don't use sex as a barometer for the health or state of the relationship. Also try to make time for the sexual relationship in case you are too busy with social groups. Now, before ending this video, I want to raise one crucial and maybe the most important piece of advice of this entire lesson. In most cases, communication has a bigger impact on sexual satisfaction than anything else. As a self-preservation dominant, you may get more active. As a sexual dominant, you may try to be less intense. As a social dominant, you may try to free up more time for your primary relationship. However, communicating openly and honestly with your partner about sex will have the biggest impact. Yet, it's also the most difficult part because it requires vulnerability, responsibility, and it may be painful to your ego. Communication about sex is more intimate than the sexual act itself. In sex, you can put up a facade, play a role. In honest communication, you cannot. Communication is also one of the main ways of getting a deeper understanding of your partner and for showing empathy. Plus, if you want your partner to know what you like and don't like, you need to tell. Expecting your partner to know all of this is just very romantic, but also extremely immature. You can find many good books and trainings on how to communicate better in a relationship. But let me just highlight a few of the elements which I personally believe are very important. Talk about your feelings and emotions, but do not get emotional. Do not act out emotionally. Be honest. Don't hide anything. Don't just say what your partner wants to hear, but do not be brutal in your honesty either. Be truthful in a compassionate and respectful way towards your partner. Listen. Don't interrupt. Don't force your partner to say things you want to hear. And finally, don't be judgmental of your partner. Accept that your partner may feel differently than you. Accept your partner may have different desires than you. If you wish to alter these desires, wishes, feelings of your partner, you are not in a loving relationship.